About nervous system. Nervous system is categorized into two parts. One is central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Generally, we are calling CNS and PNS. CNS is nothing but central nervous system. Central nervous system. Then why do we call it is central nervous system, which has major parts such as brain and spinal cord, and one more is peripheral nervous system or PNS, which will be considered as what? CNS and as well as PNS. PNS is nothing but peripheral. So peripherals we are using accessories. Then coming to the CNS, as I told you, brain and spinal cord. These are the two major parts of CNS. Brain, which is categorized or again divided into forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. So these are the three parts included under brain, which is a part of central nervous system. As of you know that brain is an organ which helps to provide information and that can be analyzed by the spinal cord. Here two things: brain is an organ providing information, then whatever the information which is received by the brain will be analyzed by the spinal cord. Hence these two are comes under what? Central nervous system. Again, forebrain will be including three parts. One is olfactory. Olfactory bulb. Here it is the term olfaction. What do you mean? Smell. Olfaction, it means smell. Whatever the smell which you are taking or which you are receiving through the nose will be detected by the olfactory lobe. The olfactory bulb is a part of the forebrain. And next move on to second one is cerebrum. Second one is cerebrum. Third one is diencephalon. So these three parts are included under forebrain. One is the first one, olfactory bulb, where we can take the smell that can be detected, and the next one is cerebrum, which is a major part of the brain, and here diencephalon. These three are the parts of forebrain, and again this diencephalon will be having three separate parts such as epithalamus, thalamus, then hypothalamus. Epithalamus, thalamus and hypothalamus. Here hypothalamus, which has a priority, it is known as neuroendocrine portion. Hypothalamus, which has a priority, and that is neuroendocrine portion. Then what is the reason why you are calling it is a neuroendocrine portion? Because it is a part of the nervous system and it has a function to produce the hormones or secreting the hormones. Hence we are calling it is what? Neuroendocrine portion or a neuroendocrine structure. It is a master of master gland. Master of master gland. There itself master gland is pituitary gland. Here two things. Hypothalamus is a part of the diencephalon, and that diencephalon will be having three parts: epithalamus, thalamus, hypothalamus. Again, hypo, the term hypo represents what? Which is lesser. We are using the term hypo, hyper in the endocrine. So that is a connectivity. Here hypothalamus, which has master gland, that is nothing but pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is a master gland which controlling endocrine glands, and that master gland is controlled by the hypothalamus, which is a master of master gland. These are the parts of what? Forebrain. Then move on to next one, midbrain. So here this midbrain, which will be having two major parts. Those are two superior colliculi and inferior colliculi. Okay. Midbrain, which will be having two superior colliculi, then two inferior colliculi. Here the terms we can use superior and inferior. What do you mean by superior and inferior? Superior upper, inferior lower. These two terms we are using in the circulatory system, especially superior vena cava, inferior vena cava. Superior vena cava there which will be collecting the deoxygenated blood, and inferior vena cava will be collecting the deoxygenated from the lower body parts. In that context we are using the terms such as superior and inferior, and these are arranged like this: to superior colliculi, to inferior colliculi. These are involving in vision and as well as auditory function. Vision and auditory function. And along with that, which included the parts corpora quadrigemina. The term associated with this corpora quadrigemina, quadra 4. Quadra means 4. Along with that, one more term will be associated with this, cerebral peduncles. So regarding this, we will discuss in detail. So these are the major parts associated with the midbrain. Then next, move on to hindbrain. So here hindbrain is categorized into cerebellum, pons varolii, then medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata. Here cerebrum is a part of the forebrain. Here we are telling that is cerebellum. The both are different. In both the parts will be having the partitions. If you come to that, the thing is here, cerebrum which has cerebral hemispheres. Cerebral hemispheres and cerebellum will be having cerebellar hemisphere. Hemispheres are common, but the term which we are using here, this is cerebrum, cerebral hemisphere. The both the partitions will be separated, and here cerebellar hemisphere. Right? Clear now? So then what we discussed here? Brain which is categorized into forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain, and the next forebrain has olfactory bulb, then cerebrum, then diencephalon. Again the diencephalon is divided into epithalamus, thalamus and hypothalamus. Hypothalamus which has a priority, it is a master of master gland, and that too in the endocrine, and where which will be having both the functions such as neural and as well as this endocrine. Then move on to midbrain. As we discussed, the parts has two superior and two inferior colliculi. Then hindbrain, cerebellum, pons varolii, medulla. Here cerebellum, pons and medulla will be having different functions. Hindbrain divided into cerebellum, and next one is pons varolii. So here pons varolii, it has a function pneumotoxic. The term P for pulmonary, P for pneumotoxic. Pneumonia will be relevant to the lungs disease. Here we are using pneumotoxic center. What do you mean by pneumotoxic center? Which helps to regulate the rate of respiration. It is what? Pneumotoxic center. Then last one is medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata. Then what is the function of this hindbrain? Will be having separate functions. Cerebellum, voluntary functions. Cerebellum, voluntary. Then pons varolii, which has a pneumotoxic center where the rate of respiration will be regularized. Then medulla, involuntary. Medulla oblongata regulating involuntary functions. So these are the parts of the hindbrain and where we'll be having separate functions as per its parts. And next one more is, that is brain stem. Brain stem. So these brain stem including midbrain, then pons, along with that medulla. So these three parts are included together called what? Brain stem, where from the brain which is going to be extended as a spinal cord. Brain stem will be extending as what? Spinal cord. Here the difference between the spinal cord and vertebral column. So this is what? Vertebral column. This is what? Vertebral column, and these tubular structure is called as spinal cord. What is the difference? The spinal cord is protected by the vertebral column. So generally these are the vertebrae. This is one vertebrae and this is one more vertebrae, and between the vertebrae will be having intervertebral disc. What is that? Intervertebral disc. Then what I am mentioning? Inter. So between this vertebrae, a disc, a cushion like structure is present, and that helps to movement whenever you are bending. So that can easy, for the bending posture will be given easy manner by the intervertebral disc. I hope it's clear. So just let us recall what we discussed till now in this flowchart. So nervous system has categorized into central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Then CNS categorized into brain and spinal cord. So till we have finished what? Only brain. Let us discuss about PNS. PNS, peripheral nervous system. It is categorized somatic nervous system and autonomous nervous system. Somatic nervous system is divided into cranial nerves and spinal nerves. somatic nervous system. Somatic nervous system, majorly it has types of nerves, all the types of nerves categorized here, and those are based on the origination, such as cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Here, these cranial nerves and spinal nerves, these are categorized based on the origination of the nerves. The nerves arises from the brain. These are cranial nerves, because the brain is protected by a bony case is called as cranium. Hence, the name has given as cranial nerves, which are arises from the brain, and spinal nerves arises from spinal cord. So these are spinal nerves. The total nerves will be 43 pairs. Total nerves are 43 pairs. Here cranial nerves are 12 pairs. Then spinal nerves are 31 pairs. 31 pairs. Then other than that, we have one more category based on the function. These all the nerves. Then what I told you here, these all the nerves are categorized, and these nerves are based on the function. Sensory nerves, motor nerves, then mixed nerves. Here these sensory nerves, which are helps to bring the impulses from the sense organ. Suppose the best example, optic nerve. Then whatever the information we are observing, so that can be reaches to the brain through the optic nerve from eye to the brain, which is nothing but what? Sensory. Motor nerve. Now I am moving my hand. So whatever the movement is going on, that is initiated by the motor nerve, and mixed nerve will be having both the functions of sensory and motor nerves. So this is about what? Somatic nervous system. So next one is autonomous nervous system. So this autonomous nervous system is categorized into sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic and parasympathetic. So these sympathetic, parasympathetic, these two are involuntary. So generally the autonomous nervous system is completely involuntary. Then whatever the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, if you check it out, then in our body will be having heart rate is increased sometimes, then heart rate will be decreased sometimes. Then what is the reason? The coordination of sympathetic and parasympathetic. Then if you have a glance here, See, as I told you, this PNS which will be having different function, and especially sympathetic and parasympathetic. If you have a glance on that, this sympathetic nervous system increasing the heartbeat, then what is happening? Parasympathetic nervous system which decreasing the heartbeat. In the similar manner here, saliva. So generally we have 3 pairs of salivary glands, but all the time the saliva will not be released continuously. Suppose whenever if you glance the biryani or whatever your favorite dish, what happens? Immediately salivary glands will be stimulated, the saliva is releasing in the mouth. Then what is the reason? If you check it out here, the sympathetic nervous system immediately stimulate the salivary glands to release the saliva, and the same manner this saliva will be decreased all the time, which is not released. Sometimes whenever you walking on the beside of drainage or any other decomposed material, so if you smell it, our salivary glands, they never stimulated and there is no chance to releasing of saliva. So that is the reason sympathetic and parasympathetic will be working in opposite manner, both are involuntary. So these are the differences between sympathetic and parasympathetic. Then other than that, we have a spinal cord. Then what is spinal cord? Then as I told you, the spinal cord helps to analyze the information, right? Then how it is? So if you check it out, generally the spinal cord is so spinal cord, if whenever if you section it, will be finding this H shape or butterfly shape. So this is a section, and all the nerves which arises from the spinal cord or mixed nerves. So generally if you observe that, so these are the nerves which arises from the spinal cord. This is a dorsal root and this is a ventral root, and here the dorsal root and ventral root will be forming a common nerve that is called as mixed nerve. So generally what I told you, mixed nerve which has both the sensory function and motor function. Here this has sensory and motor, okay na? And here these spinal head having dorsal root and ventral root, the same manner sensory nerve fibers, then mixed nerve fibers together forms a common nerve is what? Which one? Mixed nerve, okay na? See, these are the regions here, anterior and this is a posterior, okay now? Then also I have given the differences between spinal cord and vertebral column. So here this middle tubular structure is what? Spinal cord. It is protected by vertebral column. So this vertebral column is made up of with what? Vertebrae. Then here this is vertebrae and here one more vertebrae. Then as I given, between the vertebrae, this is what? Intervertebral disc, which is giving support while you are bending or moving. Am I clear? So here spinal cord, see it is very clear. Then how it is, whenever you section it, will be finding H shape or butterfly shape, and which is protected by the meninges. So generally meninges are protective layers of the brain and spinal cord. Outer layer is dura mater, outer layer is dura mater, middle layer is arachnoid membrane, then inner layer is pia mater. Easily we can remember with DAP, dura, arachnoid, pia mater. So whenever we are discussing the protective layer, we can recall the protective layers of the same manner heart and lungs also. Here pleura, here pericardium, but both are starts with P only. Again there is a little confusion. P for pulmonary, P for pleura, then P for pulmonologist. Here these are the meninges which covers brain and spinal cord. I hope it's clear. Just have a glance once we recall one by one. So this is the entire flow chart of the nervous system: central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, then it is categorized into CNS and PNS. Again CNS categorized into brain and spinal cord. Okay, so brain, forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain, right? Forebrain has olfactory, cerebrum and diencephalon. Then diencephalon is categorized into epithalamus, thalamus and hypothalamus. In that midbrain will be having various parts such as to superior and to inferior colliculi. Along with that, the parts associated with the midbrain is corpora quadrigemina, cerebral peduncles, and the next one is, as given the clarity, cerebrum, which has cerebral hemispheres. So generally here it is like this: cerebrum will have two hemispheres. In the same manner, cerebral hemispheres, cerebral hemisphere, cerebellar hemisphere. Cerebrum is a part of the forebrain, cerebellum is a part of the hindbrain. Then move on to hindbrain, will be having three different parts: cerebellum, pons, medulla. These two are opposite: cerebellum voluntary, medulla involuntary. P for pulmonary as I given, P for pons varoli, P for pneumatoxic center. So like that you need to remember in easy way. Okay now. Then one more important, brainstem included the parts such as midbrain, pons, along with that medulla. Exceptional condition here, cerebellum. So remaining all are the midbrain, pons and medulla, right? Then along with that, one more is PNS includes somatic nervous system and autonomous nervous system. So somatic nervous system based on the origination of nerves, cranial nerves and spinal nerves. So total nerves are 43 pairs. Here 12 pairs of cranial, then spinal nerves are 31 pairs. Then followed by the autonomous nervous system, which includes sympathetic and parasympathetic. These both will be in opposite function. I hope it's clear, right? Thank you.